In today's installment of the 90-Day Organized Life Blueprint After Dark, we are going to be tackling paper clutter. I have a hodgepodge here of all the different types of paper clutter that I have in my life, and I'm going to sit down with my fake glass of champagne and sort through these. Not doing that. All right. Come with me as I reveal my secret shame. I don't know what these things are. I don't know why I thought they were important. I don't know what made me want to keep them. And more importantly, I don't know why anyone uses the mail anymore. Oh, it's Amazon. That's why. So the first thing I'm going to do is open everything up and start sorting them into piles. I have a ridiculous amount of paint swatches. It's going to go over here for references. I have an unpaid toll bill. So this is a bill. I have a speeding ticket. Another speeding ticket. Ooh, who's doing all the speeding? It's me. It's me. It's not my fault. DC has speed cameras like everywhere. Okay, so I have some speeding tickets here. I have a late notice for my HOA dues, which is weird because I have that set on auto pay. Here's a letter telling me that my husband's student loan repayments are going to start. That's got to be like a year old at least. I have photos. Oh, these are the photos that I gave to my husband the last time he deployed. There's some very cute photos of me with tissue in my nose there. A parking ticket. You can see a pattern forming here. I have a card telling me when I put my IUD in, so that's important. Receipts. I do feel like I have a good amount of receipts here. So I have a pile of receipts. Some things that looks like an invitation for a new credit card. I'm gonna work my way through this pile and then we'll talk about what to do with your stacks. I'm working to sort the paper into 5 piles. First is the garbage pile. Junk mail or things that you want to dispose of go automatically into the garbage. Secondly are things that need your attention. That's things like bills, letters that require some sort of action, or things with specific dates or times, like invitations or school-related notes. Can I just interrupt for a moment to say that I'm looking at a check for $2.54 from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and it's so funny being a military family because you notice some like weird quirks living in different places. We've lived like in Texas, in Georgia, in Hawaii, in Maryland, in DC, in Massachusetts. Massachusetts had all these quirky little taxes that you had to pay. Like there was even a tax on owning a bike. But then they also are refunding me the money for the tax that I paid for the time that I wasn't living in Massachusetts. It's just kind of interesting. Next are things that you'll need for reference. These things generally fall into 3 categories. Things that you'll need for reference, but don't need to hold on to the original copy. That's things like coupons or these paint swatches. Next are things that require you to keep the original paper copy. And last are paper-based sentimental items like cards or tokens. I'm having some feelings because I'm running into sympathy cards from my mom's funeral from a few months ago. We lost our mom this year, and it's part of why things started to get really disorganized in my life. And I talked a little bit about it at the start of this 90-day challenge, but I think that I'm going to run into these types of memories. And like, it's weird because I thought this was going to be a fairly quick after work type situation, sorting through these papers. And I think that there is something to be said about being mentally prepared for going through your stuff at home, at work, your emails. Part of it is a record of your life. And you might run into some things that are a little challenging. And when we're trying to organize things, thinking about where to place those things, is something that we're gonna have to deal with. So I'm gonna keep going. It looks like my husband has jury duty.
I ain't trying to go to no jury.
We got another violation.
For what?
Something about the chimney. Apparently, we also have an HOA violation. If you're Team HOA, let me know in the comments section down below. And if you, like many Americans, have a gripe with your homeowners association, let me know what they did to tick you off in the comments section down below. The most common thing I see related to mail or paper organization in my work as a clinical psychologist are people that are dealing with financial struggles, or people that are so overwhelmed by piles and piles of mail that they've been avoiding for months or even years. But not opening and looking through your piles of papers has at least two potential psychological impacts. First, it's likely that you'll suffer way worse in your imagination than in reality.
Babe, what's a bench warrant?
You see, there's an actual reality to how many speeding tickets I have, but my mind can imagine an infinite amount of speeding tickets. And I could be thinking I owe $10,000 when I really probably only owe $500 or $600. But the only way to really know what I need to address is to face it head on. The second psychological cost of ignoring your paper pileup are cognitive open loops. Our mind likes to close things off, to finish the sentence. And knowing that there's something to know, like there's a pile of papers and you need to extract some information from those papers, opens a loop in your mind. And there's some evidence to suggest that having these types of open loops decreases your cognitive bandwidth, specifically your working memory, and can make it so you're less efficient going through your day. Now, here on this channel and in my work as a behavioral scientist, I'm all about optimizing human performance. So if it takes a little paper sorting today, that is what we'll do. Here I have sentimental items or physical objects that I want to keep. Here I have things that I want to reference, but I don't actually need to physically keep these cards or these little pamphlets. Here I have information that needs to be filed away. This has to do with my retirement accounts, insurance policies, things that I actually need the hard, physical, original copy of. Here are my bills or things that I need to check on to make sure that I have paid. And over here are all my receipts. Why do I have all of these receipts? I think for a short period of time, I thought that I was going to be digitizing all of my receipts. Now that's still something that I might want to tackle in the years to come, but most of these receipts are probably past their point of utility. And I definitely don't need a record of the last time I bought toilet paper. So I'm gonna go through these receipts and I'm only going to pull out high ticket items that have been purchased in the last 2 years. I try to get all my receipts emailed to me, but if I have receipts for things like a computer, a monitor, some of my lighting equipment, and it's been within the last 2 years, I might want to hold on to those receipts in the event that those items are damaged and that damage is still covered under the warranty. But do I need to know that I spent $200 at Sephora last November? I have had this Sephora receipt for an entire year. I think I could get rid of it. I am noticing another pattern. Most of those receipts were from a 60-day time period, and it was right around the time of my mom's passing. So I think that I'm starting to pick up some clues here as to what was going on during that time. I was buying, I bought a lot of things for the funeral and travel, and just I was not processing things in the same way that I usually do, but also a lot of my systems fell through the cracks. So I think I was just stockpiling some of this stuff. And this is valuable information for me to have about myself. That's part of the process of going through a very deliberate reset. It's to know that when I was grieving and potentially when I'm in high stress situations, a lot of my organization systems might fall through. And do I need to develop some safeguards for when that happens? I'm glad that I took the time to look at all of those receipts and that I was able to identify a pattern there with those dates. It turns out none of those receipts need to be kept, so I am down to a much smaller pile of items. With these photos and these keepsakes, I do have a box where I keep all of my photographs, and I am going to put this in there. It is pretty full, and this is one of the principles that I work under when it comes to clutter and items in my home. There are certain things that I keep confined within specific areas, and I only keep enough items that I can comfortably fit into this area. So for photos, it's only the amount of photos that could fit into this box. So I'm gonna go in and see if I have enough space for that. For these cards related to my mom's funeral, I also have a box with birthday cards and some mementos, and I'm going to put that in there. That brings us to these items. I have a card that tells me when I had my IUD placed. I will place this date in my calendar, and that way I don't need to have this card anymore. The date is in the calendar and I can search it within the calendar and know when was the date that I had my most recent IUD placed. I have a instruction manual for certain things. Instruction manuals go into the garbage because I can Google the instruction manual and they're all available online. For these things, QR codes and paint swatches, I'm going to use my digital filing cabinet that I have on Notion. And in that digital filing cabinet, I store physical coupons, and every time I place a new coupon on the page, I make sure that I delete any coupons that have expired. I'm going to do the same thing with these paint swatches. I'm going to look up each of these paint colors and store them on my digital filing cabinet here in Notion. Next up are my bills and originals that I need to hold on to. I'm going to take each one of these bills, log into the online payment system, and ensure that each bill is paid. If I don't have enough money in my budget, I will budget for them from the next pay period. The important thing here is to have no open loops, so I'd prefer not to touch this bill again if at all possible. My bank allows me to send a check directly from my bank account. I simply tell my bank the date that I want the check to be mailed out and the mailing information. I take that information and put it into my future budget, and I never have to touch the bill again. When it comes to important originals that I need to keep, we have a safe for all of our legal documents, as well as these two plastic filing cabinets. Over the years, I've downsized from a large wooden filing cabinet to this two-tote system. One of the totes is used to store paperwork that requires the original copy. The other is for items related to our son. It's important to consult with an accounting professional to fully understand what paperwork you need to physically have on hand, including what requires original documentation. But for me and my family, it includes things like titles to each of our cars, this CD with our deed information, and I also keep 6 years worth of back taxes. I try to limit all of my sentimental items related to my son to this one box. There's a section for every age, and as you can see, as he's gotten older, he's 14 now, the amount of documents that go into this folder decreases every year. Now I'm mostly just keeping his report cards and his school photos. Now, what did I do with everything else that was in that large wooden file cabinet? Well, a few years ago, in a life reset just like the one I'm in the middle of right now, I digitized all those files. It took me quite some time, but I was able to digitize everything that didn't require an original hard copy. And it's made my moves as a military family who moves quite frequently that much easier. Just like with email, it's not enough to sort through all of your paper clutter once. You also need to develop a system for organizing the new paperwork that comes into your life. That's why I've developed this step-by-step process. This whole thing took me about 2 hours. Let me know in the comment section down below how long it took you to go through your paper clutter.